Someone in the audience said, outstanding panel, one of the best I've seen on this topic. You heard it here first, Women 2.0 conference. It's a serious text message, you can come see it. All right, so I'm really excited about the next panel. It's a case study by someone named Paula Long. If you want to talk about billions, Paula Long exited her company to Dell for $1.5 billion. Do it like that. Come on, she does her clap. Yes.
Got a quick one?
Thank you. Paula is the co-founder and executive vice president of products and strategy at Equalogic. I'm going to let her take the stage, and I hope that clicker works. Let me know.
Okay, so actually I am now the CEO of a company called Data Gravity, but I'm going to talk about the Equalogic experience. And it was 1.375 billion. It matters. Still not bad. Still not bad, right? So let's see if I can get this to turn. I'm actually a technophobe, so we'll see if I can get it to work. I can't get a VCR to work either. Does this actually work? Did you give me the? Is this one? This is what I'm using? I'm pushing the wrong thing. That will help. Green button. Life is good. So I started off with my two founders, Paul Koning and Peter Hayden, believe it or not, on April 1st, 2001 on Purgatory Road. You couldn't write this stuff, right? The startup we had been at, which had been seed funded, and we weren't founders of, but we agreed, you know, this company's not going anywhere. If we do this, we're going to be dead man walking. Let's close this down, and let's go do something else, which I have to tell you, be really careful about before you take the A round, because then you're gone. You're going, and you're not stopping. So don't take the A round if you're not sure, right? Because you're in it for life. So at any rate, no lie, there's the three of us, and I joked around that if we IPO'd, I'd change my name to Mary, and we'd get a rock group going. Luckily, well, we almost IPO'd. We had gotten to our SEC filing. I had presented to the bankers. I had presented to the analysts. I had done all the tech stuff. Our CEO bought the suit, was 2 days away from the roadshow when we actually signed the agreement with Dell. And it was really actually a win-win for both sides, because what I'm most proud of about the acquisition was Dell has turned the Equalogic product into a really cool product into an amazing phenomenon. They've sold over 100,000 units, right? In which in the tech space, in enterprise is huge. In the click space, that's nothing. But in the tech space, you know, you're talking hundreds of millions of dollars worth of revenue a year, Dell, and actually they've probably made their money back. So let's talk about what you don't hear. So when we got bought, you know, New Hampshire tech business sector got sold. We were the biggest private acquisition at all time at the time. I don't know if that's still true. You know, so everybody's feeling really good. But behind the scenes, we were three founders from New Hampshire. You wouldn't think that mattered, but you know, the VC community wasn't all that. You know, it was a little dicey. We didn't fit the model. We were a bunch of techies. We weren't feeling particularly successful most of the time, right? Because we were always thinking about, we weren't going around yelling, yay me. We were going around saying, okay, so what's the next problem? What do we have to do? Economy's tough. Competition is coming at us. So we were never really feeling like we had it nailed until it was obvious. And I think that was, I didn't even really feel it even when we were going through the IPO process, because I was worried, can we stay up and to the right? Can we give Wall Street the growth they want? What I'm most proud about, though, you know, acquisition was cool, love it, never give it up. But we were building a real business. We could IPO and be a standalone business, and we could have been successful. We had 3,800 customers, 30 countries. We had done $90.9 million in the first 3 quarters. You can see that in the SEC filings. We did about $130 to $140 million by the end of that year. We had like a $200-something million run rate going forward. We were a real business, a standalone business, somebody who could make it. But the thing that was most amazing is in an industry where customer sat wasn't important, we had a 98% customer satisfaction rating, and most of our customers repurchased. So in the enterprise space, that's what matters. That's all that matters. Good things come from that. Bad things come from not having that. And if you're and that's what I want to talk about. If you're worried about more than happy customers, then you're worried about the wrong thing. So let me go through some of, so I'm the lady of one-liners. So I thought, so if you'd worked with me for the last 10 years, you would have seen all these one-liners at one point or another. So I'm going to share them with you, and then I'll tell you the story behind them. So the first one I used to say is, God created the world in 6 days because he didn't have an installed base, right? So you start with nothing. When you start with nothing, amazing things are possible because you got nothing to lose, right? But at the same token, you can think too small. So think about what you want your business model to be, think about what you want your products to be, think about what the future is going to be. So think big, but figure out how to scale it back so the first release isn't boiling the ocean. But don't think small. If God had thought about, well, maybe I'll make a tree, and in 10 years, I'll add a lake, and in 25 more years, I'll add something else, it would have taken a little more than 6 days. Think big, but then for our perspective, dial it down so it's implementable. The next question is, I'm a techie. I can build anything. So what? Should I build it? So ask yourself the question all the time is, not can we build it, which is important, but should you build it? Will anybody buy it? Does anybody care? Techies can get caught up in the how cool it is and forget about the so what. You'd be surprised how many people would come into my office and say, we could do this. And I'm like, yeah, we could, but we're not, right? And here's why. This is really, really important in the enterprise space. We are playing bingo, not basketball. I must say this every week. And so what does that mean? If we have 1,000 features that solve nothing, we don't win by having 1,000 features that solve nothing. We win by having the 5 features that solve a relevant problem. So if you have 5 features, you complete a task, it's way better than having 1,000 things that don't do anything. So you're playing bingo, not basketball. And for guys, they want to see how many points they can put on the board, right? Sorry, it's a guy thing, somewhat a girl thing, but you want to focus and do something really well, not do a whole bunch of stuff. You'll get to the whole bunch of stuff as the card fills up. I tell everybody, you can go read Signal to Noise. You can go read the 7 things of effective people. I tell people to read If You Give a Moose a Muffin. Because If You Give a Moose a Muffin has some really, really important lessons in this. How many people have read that book? Give a moose a muffin, gave a mouse a cookie. It starts with 2 really important lessons. First of all, you talk yourself out of everything. Well, if I give him a muffin, he'll want jam, right? Well, maybe then he's going to want clean sheets. So you start making this thing way bigger than it has to be. But probably more important, and if you're sitting in a room where you don't have decisive people, what you'll find is you're going to loop, right? Because if you think about what happens at the end of You Give a Moose a Muffin, you give him jam, and you're worried about he's going to want a muffin, right? So you loop. You never decide anything. That's a very important book. The other one I recommend is Green Eggs and Ham, because that tells you that the people who are really reluctant, you just have to keep coming at them, and eventually they'll catch on. So everybody who comes into your office says, I want. So when I was growing up, my dad had this really good quote to say, it's good to want. And the guys at Equalogic would say, it's good to want what Paula wants. So basically what that means is, it's good to have aspirations beyond where we are today. Keep them, write them down, and we'll get to them. But we can't fill them all right now. If you are in a company where engineering believes it's 100% of the company, get out or fix it. Because there's a lot of great technology, but if you don't have good sales and marketing, you will fail. And if your engineers don't get that, you need a new engineering team or you need a new leadership team. I'm very serious. I've seen, hey, I was at DEC. We had great products. We struggled a little bit about making those available to people. So remember that. Wang had great products. Customers don't make mistakes. Products do. So I'd get a support guy calling me. I get a support guy calling me saying this dumb customer did blah. And I'm like, well, the customer's not dumb. We missed something, right? Customers should never, so I'm in the enterprise business. If we make a mistake, we could lose your data, we could take down your website, we could take down an MRI system. It's really bad. So our job is to say, we're foolproof. We're built so no failures. Customers do not make mistakes. We have product holes and we fix them. Even if the guy did something like, why would they do that? Well, they were more creative than we thought they could be. This is one where the UX guys get really mad at me, but you don't measure ease of use based on number of clicks or great graphics. It's about whether you can perform something with confidence and certainty in the enterprise space. It's about every time I do this, it works the same way, and I'm not going to cause any harm. So we had a lot of people saying, I'm better than you because you're 7 clicks and I'm 5. And I said, well, so what? I can fail 3 times when I run yours, and ours is foolproof. Next one is, God, I hated this. Everybody would show me everybody else's data sheet and tell me why we sucked, right? We don't have this, and we don't have this, and we don't have this. And what I told people is, now, EqualLogic competed with people like NetApp and EMC. Thousands of people around forever, right? We've been around for 3 or 4 years. Maybe 50 people in engineering. We aren't going to have what they have. It's just math. But so we have to be different. So if you build what everybody else has, they should buy somebody else, right? You need to be unique. You need to be disruptive. And there needs to be a reason they buy you as opposed to someone else. This is another hard one. Stuff happens. Who cares whose fault it is? Take responsibility for it and make sure it doesn't happen again. We used to have the saying, only new mistakes, right? You're going to make mistakes, but only new ones. All right, so you're interviewing your VP of support, and they tell you what their customer closure rate was. Well, we closed customers within 2 days, or our queue length was blah. That's the dumbest metrics on the planet. Because you can deflect stuff, you can close stuff. It's the what's your happy customer rate that you want to measure. Don't measure close, measure solving the problem, and measure happiness. Because at least in the tech space, you can get a lot of deflection, which means, oh, it's this other vendor's problem, so I'm going to close it, or it'll be fixed in next release. That doesn't solve the customer problem. And remember, happy customers is what makes you successful. All right, so in the enterprise space, sales guys do not get paid on orders. They get paid on recognized revenue. That means the customer kept it. So it's very important it works, that they don't oversell it, that the customer is happy. So don't measure orders, measure revenue. Because that meant we had close to 0 returns with EqualLogic, which is very important. But I'd been at other places where the return rate was pretty high, and your sales force gets demotivated. Because again, your sales force is there to make money, and they only get paid on recognized revenue, and you only recognize revenue people keep, products they keep. All right, here's another one. So many people used to watch, I'm old, so Rob Newhart, second one, Larry, Daryl, and Daryl, anything for a buck? Okay, I'm it. All right, so there's just to be saying anything for a buck. In the enterprise space, if you start doing specials, you can't support that, right? So if you have N code streams, you can't support that because you can't add all the new features and all the new patches into the code streams. So no specials. I think EqualLogic did 2 specials. I'm embarrassed to say they were around funding events. But no specials. This was really surprising to me. People did not fear failure. I started to see fear when it looked like we were going to be successful, and they were worried that they were the reason we weren't going to be successful. So people who made rational decisions every day when we were playing penny slots, I call it like, early days you're playing penny slots, you might lose, but it's not a huge. Once you got to like the high roller table, people got really scared and a little paralyzed. So be aware of this, because you have to be just as efficient as you grow, and you're going to take some risk. And you're going to have people who are willing to take that risk and have commitment around that risk. But that was a phenomenon that really surprised me. All right. Lack of failure does not mean success. And lack of success does not mean failure. You need to measure. So for example, the easiest one is a QA department will tell you, oh, everything worked because nothing failed. Well, how did you define failure, right? And in a company, because you're still alive and you have a pulse, doesn't mean you're being successful. So go back and have metrics for how you decide each one. All right, you're going to get a lot of advice. Some of it's going to be good, so listen to it, but don't try to rattle back and forth because, tons of advice. Focus on the big stuff in the room, the elephants in the room. Don't spend a lot of time on the bunnies because these things reproduce all the time. I'm going quick. She's timing me again. It says 2.32. All right, sorry. And then just the last one is, and I think you've heard this all day, you're about to marry however many people you start this company with and who invest in you. You're together for a long time, probably 10 years plus. So make sure you have common alignment on goals, on what success looks like, on what you're going to do in the case of you bump, because everybody bumps. And for that, I might have run out of question time, but that was it.
Thank you, Paula. We're going to take just one rapid-fire question from the audience, and only if you get there in half a second. 4, 3. Nobody? No questions?
Good.
Okay, go. Run to the mic, quick.
I don't tweet. I don't Facebook, I don't tweet, and I'm barely LinkedIn. And I had to have someone show me how to use the remote. But
okay. Yeah, we'll put it on SlideShare. Okay, thank you, Paula. You're amazing. Left us speechless.